Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Oklahoma City Sports Network. I am the Cowboy Crab. I'll be your host here. As today, we have just gotten past week 1 for the Twisters season as they went on the road to Saxton and got a massive victory over the Sunbirds. It was a great day for the Twisters. So we will get into that shortly. With the final score 72-57. I was very off on the score, but when you put up 72 against the team that put you out in the postseason last season, I mean, it's a great feeling. But now we head to week 2. Arguably week 2 against the Toros is looking to be interesting. As of right now of the current standings, Twisters, they sit undefeated at 1-0 in the Plains Division, while the Toros sit 0-1 and tied for last in the Plains Division. The Twisters are tied with the Blue Steel City Vikings and the Mexico City Aztecs for first place in the Plains Division based off win record. When you get into some more statistics, that's where it changes. Taking on the Toros next week, first home game of the season, currently having the better record, it is looking good for them. But before we get into all the week 2 stuff, let's head back to week 1. Let's take a look at the statistics for how last week went. So, we'll start with the quarterback position, as you do. So, was 28 for 37, 557 passing yards, a 75.6 completion percentage, 10 touchdowns, and no interceptions. That is impressive coming from our star quarterback. Also having 7 rushes for 81 rushing yards. But at the receiving core is where it gets interesting. In Caribbean, it's one of those. 9 receptions, 179 receiving yards, and 4 touchdowns. Samuel also having 4 receiving touchdowns, but also 6 receptions, 163 receiving yards. Obsta with 5 receptions, 84 yards, and a touchdown. Phenom with 5 receptions and 60 yards. Big Bada with 2 receptions, 25 yards, and Joski, 1 reception, 46 yards, and the touchdown. So the receiving yards did good. Center, Conte score, only letting up 2 sacks out of 2 total drives. Conte also getting a tackle for loss. Parker getting a tackle for a loss, and Obsta getting a tackle for loss. And then when it came to kicking, 4 for 4 on 1% attempt. 4 for 4 on 1-point attempts, 3 for 6 on 2-point attempts. No field goals were attempted. So, the 10 touchdowns in the receiving core really is, the offense was just on point that game. Defense, I mean, they did get a lot of points, and they didn't have a single, Carabine did have an interception. So, Carabine did get interception. I was about to say no turnovers on the defense, but then I saw that. So, but outside of that, only 1 tackle for loss, no sacks, no swats at all by the defense. So, defense not looking great, but the offense is really where they shined, and hoping to see that next week against the Toros. But also, let's see how those Sunbirds did against this defense. We'll see how the defense and the offense did for Saxton. So, Jelly was 23 for 39 and 587 passing yards, 58.9 completion percentage, 6 touchdowns and an interception. So, less touchdowns and an interception. Also having 5 rushes, 5 rushing yards, and 2 touchdowns. So, quarterback sneaks essentially. At the receiving core for the Sunbirds, it was OBJ Bruh, 12 receptions, 382 receiving yards, and 5 touchdowns. Frankie, 3 receptions, 39 receiving yards. Fear Tiny, 4 receptions, 63 receiving yards. Chick Magnet, 1 reception, 14 yards and a touchdown. Shrill Gold, 1 reception, 24 receiving yards. And Mater Potato, 2 receptions, 65 yards. So, it was really OBJ, bro, that was the big worry for the Twisters. But outside of that, no other receiver getting into triple digits. The highest outside of OBJ was 65 receiving yards. And only one other receiver got a touchdown. So it really does seem like Saxton has a wide receiver 1 and a bunch of support roles. The center, Interfi, did let up 3 tackles for losses. No sacks, though. Interfi and Frankie both getting a sack on the day. No turnovers, of course. And then for the kicking units, you have Jelly 3 for 4 on 1-point attempts, and 2 for 2 on 2-point attempts, and Frankie 2 for 2 on 1-point attempts. And of course, Interfi, an absurd out of bounds kickoff leading to a Twister's safety. So that was about it for week 1. Twisters with a big win and returning home for their home opener of season 35 against the Houston Toros. Now, let me just quickly look at how the Toros did. So Houston, not having the worst week out of every team even imaginable. I mean, there were some bad. Well, correction. They might have had the worst week. They lost 47-6 halftime forfeit to Mexico City. Now, I was looking, and I glanced over, and I thought they were like one of these teams that put up like 20, 40, 36 points or something like that. But no, they put up a touchdown. So, they put up the least amount of points, tied with the Bruisers, who were a third quarter forfeit. At least the Bucks made it a whole game. They had 2 more points as well. So, from my point of view, unless the Toros get it together, I'm expecting basically the same from both sides of the ball. I think Oklahoma City, the offense is going to be clicking. Your receivers are going to be on point. The quarterback chemistry and receiver chemistry is going to be on point. There's not much looking like the Toros can stop, because the ball was getting tossed around. There were several weapons like Carabine, Samuel, Joski, Obsta, and several others who probably did not. Well, you also had Phenom and Big Bada did not have touchdowns, but they did get some yards. And then defensive wise, I mean, I don't think you would be entirely worried. I mean, 3 tackles for loss and an interception. But you're going up against a team that put up 6 points and forfeited at halftime. So, I mean, that could definitely be something you could underestimate. Like, you're not going as seriously. But I highly doubt that for the way that Parker and Bailey run this team. So they are probably going to be playing 100% till the final whistle and the clock's at 000. But outside of that, I'm expecting I'm going to say 55-12 is going to be your final score. I think the Toros can put up 2 touchdowns. They play a full game, they can definitely at least get 2 touchdowns. They might put up a little more of a fight, but 55-12 is going to be my final score here for week 2. And compared to rest of the division opponents, Blue Seal City and Mexico City, I mean, they didn't technically even play full games in the Plains division. So, if you ask me, the Twisters currently looking like the best team, just based on the fact they've played a full game. But they are tied for first right now. The Bruisers and Toros not looking great to start the season. But, of course, it being a 6-week season, you'll definitely see how they compare to the rest of the teams at my mid-season power rankings, which I did last season and I'll do this season. Probably an annual tradition. But I think outside of that, yeah, Twisters go 2-0, 55-12, my final score. So I think that's where we're going to end it here, folks. Representing the Oklahoma City Sports Network, I'm the Cowboy Crab, saying so long, everybody.